Hello, and welcome to the Book Doctor's YouTube channel.
We're taking it outside today. It's crazy. We're nuts.
Today we're talking about the structure of your book. And the reason that we're outside is that we have the task this week of making a stone step.
Yeah, and the building inspector's coming, and I don't know if you ever have to confront a building inspector, but they don't mess around.
And
it's got to be like this and like that.
And we've never built a stone step. But it occurred to us that a stone step is very much like a book.
Like a book.
So,
in a weird way, like you wouldn't say, oh, here's a stone step and here's a book. They're very similar.
Right.
And yet.
So let's lay down the metaphors for a second
all right, let's do.
All right.
Like we're making a step.
First, we had to clear the area. We had to choose our stones.
So we accumulate our stones.
We had to accumulate our stones. Next, we have to place the stones one by one to make a perfect
Don't take a picture of that anymore.
square.
You want to see me more.
To make a perfect square. Okay. We're going to update you.
I'll illustrate this.
On...
Here's a stone. Bam!
Now, I'm going to illustrate something else. This is how David would make a stone
wall. Oh, now I'm getting dissed. Up here. Oh, no. Take it down there. You're right. You got to see that. That's how I would do it.
I think we're done.
Oh, wow. Like I'm a caveman. Like I'm an idiot.
Now, this, I can't even show you because it's going to take me so long to figure out how these pieces go together. We will update you on our progress.
It's excruciating to watch.
It's excruciating to watch.
Like, I have to do this. No, I'll go back this way. No, like this way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, now we're going to take it inside, people, and explain about the structure of your book.
Don't stop yet.
So let's talk about those stages that we discussed outside.
Clear the decks.
Clear the decks. Let's start with that one. Whenever you're starting a new book and you are trying to figure out how you're going to put this book together, the clearing the decks is perhaps the most important metaphor because you've got to get yourself ready to assemble this puzzle together, which is what a book is.
So, and your brain keeps telling you all these different things that you get bombarded with thoughts as you're trying to engage in the creative process about this, that, the other. Everything's got to be gone so that you, and what I always do is I start by writing the pitch. Like I start with a blank page. What is this thing? In 250 words, what is the thing?
Yeah.
From out of nothingness, I'm going to create something that is a story and characters. Has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yep, and if you're writing nonfiction, sometimes you even just start with the title.
That's right.
And subtitle, because that clarifies for you what the idea is. It's not to say that that title isn't going to change 500 times.
It probably will not be the title. And again, this is like a shitty first draft, honestly, of a pitch, of a 250-word idea of what the thing is.
Yeah.
It should not have to be good.
I will also like to say that clearing the decks isn't just about the ideas, but it's literally about process for me because I'm a procrastinator and I will try and find every single thing to do besides working on the book. I need to create that space for myself to actually sit down and write, whether that means putting it in the calendar every day or what have you. But actually making it so that that is the only thing that I am working on.
And for me, who has a brain that's bombarded by thoughts constantly and is pathologically addicted to trying to be successful, I have to put out all the thoughts about, how am I gonna, what's my Oscar speech gonna be? What am I gonna look like at the Emmys? Like, I'm already thinking of that before I even start the project.
Yeah.
It's ill. It's mentally ill. I've acknowledged that about myself.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like this thing. It's going to be like that thing. It's going to be like the other thing. It's a little bit like Perks of a Wallflower meets Star Wars. Yeah, that's what it'll be. Like I have all these crazy. Actually, that's not a bad idea, is it? So I have to clear my decks. Like, what is this one thing boiled down that I am going to create?
So I'm going to talk about nonfiction first because for fiction, there so many ways to write a novel. Some people like to just let their characters lead them along the way.
Fly by the pantsers or plotters.
Exactly. So let's talk about nonfiction first, because that really is where structure has to be defined. Most typically, everyone can always break the rules, but most typically, you have to have the structure.
And a central idea that's just really solid.
So gathering the stones, picking the stones, these are the ideas that you are going to concentrate on and that will develop into chapters in your book. And this is super important because a lot of times you don't know how wide you're going to go with an idea in a book. So I just wrote a book called What is Color? 50 Questions and Answers on the Science of Color. Well, I came up with that 50 in order to make it so that I had to figure out what those 50 questions were.
50 stones.
50 stones. Now, I had to change those 50 stones.
Yes, you should have seen the stones were flying everywhere.
50,000 times. And so one would go in, it would come back out, it would go back in, blah, 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 all these things.
She'd write 3 pages, and then she'd have, okay, I have now 1 sentence. Like, what happened to the 3 pages? Well, it's now 1 sentence.
It's now 1 sentence. So, these stones, sometimes you have to take a hammer and hit an edge off.
Sometimes you got to sand it just a little tiny bit to get it to fit in everything.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to move its place. And that happened all the time with the book I just wrote. A chapter that would be originally question number 4 ended up as question number 20. So you can see how this playing with where things fit together becomes a huge part of the success of your book.
And when we wrote The Essential Guide to Getting Your Book Published, we're just going to write a book about how to get your book published. And then we came up with it, so we didn't know what it was. It was just that. And then we boiled everything down, like, what are the 4 principles? So then we had 4 principles. Now that helped a lot because then we can divide the principles into parts.
Yeah.
And so, again, gathering those stones that are going to make this thing, you don't even know what it is to begin with, you just have an idea.
Yeah.
And we're out there going to have to take these stones and put them with concrete all around them. But first, to get them to fit together in a perfect way, it's like making a jigsaw puzzle where you don't have the box.
Yep. Which is, by the way, how I like to do a jigsaw puzzle.
That's just mentally ill. I'm sorry. That's something very wrong with that.
So then comes the building, which we've already started to allude to, is the putting these things together, moving them around, seeing where they go. And the cement is actually a really interesting metaphor as well, because how you stitch them and how I'm working on another book right now that really needs very clear interstitial material that takes you from one chapter to the other. This is a neuroscience book, and explaining for the lay person how the brain works and getting from one place to the next. The editor said to us, I want you to put out every part of your thought process as to why the next chapter came next. So when you get to the end of chapter 1, I want you to explain in detail why you're going to chapter 2. That to me is the cement right there.
Nice, well done with the cement and everything. So should we segue to fiction? Or do we want to say more about putting the thing together?
No, I think the fiction piece of it, for those what do you call the people who do? You just said it.
Fly by the pantsers.
No, the other ones.
Plotters.
For the plotters, for the fly by your pantsers.
Plot, by the way, not P-O-L-O-D-D.
Right.
You're not plodding along. You're plotting along.
Yeah. So for the fly by your pantsers, go do your thing.
Fly with your pants right by the seat of them.
Yeah. For the plotters, it really is a very similar situation, except you're thinking more character and scene, and building of plot arc, which is different than when talking about practical nonfiction. And of course, memoir falls more on the fiction side, people, than it does on the nonfiction side, except you can't make up things to
As
help.
in a memoir.
In a memoir.
That's the big #1 rule.
Yeah.
Don't make shit up.
Yeah, so if you feel like, you have a slow start, it's not like you can just make up something.
However,
along the
you
way.
could take a stone from the middle of the book and put it here. I
And
did that in my memoir.
That is the key to so many memoirs. Many people make the mistake of writing a chronological memoir.
I was born as a young man in 1917, and my mother, she came from Irish stock, blah, 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 blah. You just
Right.
want to like fall asleep before you've
But
started.
even if it's someone who's taken a year of their life, often they start at the beginning of the year.
Absolutely.
And they should start 2/3 of the way in and go back so that you're wanting to know what happened in that first scene
It's
and how they got
like the
there.
Breaking Bad cold opening. Go watch
Exactly.
Breaking Bad. Just watch the first 2 minutes of it and you'll understand.
Yes. There's a man in his underpants.
With a gun.
running with a gun.
And he's a high school chemistry teacher.
Yeah, there you go.
Tidy whities, not just underwear.
Exactly. So as we continue with our stairs, we will be updating you on our progress. Oh,
One more thing. You were talking about the interstitial parts. And I would say in a novel,
yes.
it's a weirdly similar thing. Each thing has to follow in some way from the thing. You don't want to explain that, but you still have to, the pieces of the stones have to fit together really nice.
And I'll just say, I just read a novel, Normal People, which I highly recommend, as well as the television show that was made out of it.
Yes.
And
Highly recommend.
she does such an interesting
it's
thing
amazing.
with going back and forth in time.
Revealing information of the plot.
So that the cement there is like so provocative because you're like, how did they? We were just here and now we got there, but I have to read.
She'll just
and figure
skip
that
3
out.
months and start from 3 months later, and you don't know what's happened, and then you slowly find out.
I feel like her cement had glitter in it or something. Like it was so exciting.
I've just finished a novel in which there's 2 different time periods, and I had to like take little bits of this time period and put it here, and then I put it there, and then I put it in the next place, and then I took something else. Like the whole sequential part of this book was so confusing. The stones, it took me so long, and I paid so many editors to help me do this thing until I finally got it where all the stones fit together perfectly. I barely even needed cement by the time I was done because they were all so nice.
And that's a great mason.
Our dude
contractor was
said,
saying yesterday, the better the mason, the less
cement. So they all just fit together beautifully.
How do you like that?
Bada bing and bada boom.
All right, everybody. We'll let you know how our stair goes.
And we will see you
at the bookstore.
Is it virtual bookstore or bookstore?
Depends where you live.
That's right. See the clear area?
We cleared that area. We patted
Back
it.
up here. I want them to see me. Step forward. Our daughter Olive is the director today. Although you might say, oh, she just flipped me off. Oh, she gave me the bird. Do they still say gave me the bird? I don't even think they say that anymore. That's what you used to say when I was a kid.
Okay.
Sorry, we got sidetracked.
Okay. First we had to clear the area.
Right. And I had to use a sledgehammer.
Don't
bother back up here! I had to use a sledgehammer because I beat it all down. So I don't know how that works with the metaphor. Are you getting her? Oh, Lord help me.
Okay.
So clearing the area, though.
Clearing the area is
How does
number
that apply
one.
to a book?
We're going to talk about that
Okay.
later.
Here, take
okay.
take them over here.
Next, we
Wait a minute! Our director's losing her mind. Here, film that. And there's the director. She's lost her mind. Here. Just pan up to me. Thank you.
Follow us up.
Thank you. Follow.
Molly.
Here's Mo.
Molly, we're
here.
going to go talk about structure.
Here's the fence that I made, which is a little bit like a book too. We'll do that in the next video about how that's like a book. Did you get the whole thing?
Sure.
I got all this. I got all this wood myself personally.
Wow.
And put it in there and everything. Built the whole thing. So, I was just that so with a comma after that was for you.
Oh, there you go.
So,
So